What do I think about flashbacks? My name is Gina. I'm an author, editor, publishing professional. I help you make your writing better. Flashbacks are best used when they are pushing the narrative forward, not when they are being used to just give us information of stuff that happened 10 years ago or 5 years ago or 6 months ago or whatever. They are much more effective when they are pushing the narrative forward. I'm going to use a couple of examples from some popular sitcoms that I think worked well and then one that I think didn't work as well, and you will see why here in just a moment. If you thought I was going to talk about a sitcom and it wasn't going to be How I Met Your Mother first, you haven't been here for very long. So at the end of season 1, we have an episode called Best Prom Ever, in which Lily goes to a prom in order to hear a band perform because she's nervous about them not being able to perform her song. It's kind of a contrived reason, but the entire reason that they actually go to this prom is so that we can talk about her prom when she was in high school. When she flashes back to her prom in high school, not only do we get Neil Patrick Harris's real life husband here, but we see, yes, some funny, oh, I can look more like Kurt Cobain and she's kind of a goth chick. This is the first time that we kind of do this thing, and it's funny and it's cute, and yes, we have that nostalgia feel and that flashback vibe to it. But more importantly, we learned that Lily broke up with Scooter at the prom because she didn't want to be tied down. She didn't want to get married young. She wanted to have a whole bunch of experiences, things that she still hasn't done 10 years later, that she still hasn't lived abroad for any significant amount of time. She still hasn't explored her sexuality. We find out here this is our first hint that Lily is bisexual, which never really gets canonized the right way. But she is a bisexual character. She never had a chance to explore that side of her sexuality. She never had a real chance to try being an artist because as soon as they graduated college, she had to go to work to support Marshall while he was pursuing law school. She has a lot of dreams that weren't pursued, but we don't know about that unless we get this prom flashback. Are there other ways that we could have found that information out? Yeah, sure, maybe. But yeah, we get the fun nostalgia, we get the flashback scene, we get this thing that people are really excited about. It's also not the entire episode. They do little snippets of this high school prom and then flashing back over here and showing Lily freaking out about the fact that she's getting married. She's getting married to the guy that she met the first day of college. So she broke up with her high school boyfriend because she didn't want to be tied down. And then 3 months later, she's tied down to the next guy. So now this is introducing a conflict that is pushing the story and pushing the narrative forward. Another one that worked really well was the prom flashback on Friends. They don't, yes, we get the silly costumes. Don't think too closely about it. The timeline on Friends is a disaster. It's a mess. But we have Rachel and Ross, and it becomes very clear that he's liked her ever since high school, that this is not just he saw a beautiful woman and saw his chance while he was grieving his marriage, but he's actually been into her for a really, really long time. And not only was he into her, but he was willing to go back to high school with his sister, double date with his sister, and in order to do this thing that was kind of embarrassing and wasn't really cool and wasn't really it wasn't his scene, but he was going to do this for her. He was going to do something for her that he didn't really want to do, and it's what makes her decide to give him a second chance as adults. So this prom scene, yes, it is funny, and I know we very, very fat phobic that we are just laughing at Monica having been a plus size teenager. And this show is problematic as hell, right? This did not age well. But we have the fun, nostalgia flashback of the taffeta dresses and Ross and his hair and all this stuff, right? We have the fun flashback, but it is pushing the narrative forward. It reveals new information, or it reveals it in a way that it hadn't been revealed before, and it gets the characters in the modern story to behave in a different way. We're going to contrast that with another flashback from Friends that you probably don't even remember. Maybe you do. If you're a super duper Friends fan, you might remember that Rachel technically met Chandler before she meets Chandler. She gets introduced to Chandler face to face 3 different times, hey, have you met this guy? And they haven't met each other 3 different times in the series. Like I said, it's a disaster. But this is this is supposedly the second time she met him, but she gets introduced to him as if she's never met him before. She says she's going to take her SATs the next morning, even though she's drunk, and she decides she's going to make out with him because he's in college and he's in a band. That's his whole reason. He says, do you want to make out? She's like, what? Why? Gross. I'm in a college and I'm in a band. Oh, yeah, okay then. So they make out. But that's the whole point of this here, is that Rachel and Chandler kissed when they were drunk and teenagers. It doesn't do anything for the story. I believe Chandler and Monica are already married at this point. Like, this is water under so many bridges. This does nothing for their character development. This does absolutely nothing for the story. It does nothing for the plot. And so you probably forgot that this scene was even in there. It was another excuse for them to trot out Monica in a fat suit and to make fun of her again for this. It's totally and completely forgettable. It does nothing for the plot. It does nothing for the story. Yeah, I know we get the joke later on that Ross kissed Monica accidentally because they thought that they both kissed Rachel on this night. Like, but it doesn't do anything meaningful for the story or for the plot. And that's when a flashback is bad. If it is just flashing back to like have us laugh at something, or just flashing back to like show us this thing happened, I'm sorry, we could have like told that story. We didn't need to do it in a flashback. It didn't need to be this big inserted scene into the story. Flashbacks are really, really effective when they are pushing the story forward. Yes, they are backwards looking, but they are forward pushing.